Have you ever felt like your sacrifices as a parent go unnoticed? The countless sleepless nights, selfless choices, and unwavering love, only to face indifference or even criticism from your children. It's a bitter pill to swallow, and the emotional toll can be immense. But what if I told you that the key to finding peace and freedom doesn't lie in changing them, but in transforming how you respond to these feelings? In this video, we're diving into 7 life-changing lessons rooted in Stoic philosophy, crafted to help you let go of resentment, rebuild inner peace, and take control of your emotional well-being. Each step is a path towards serenity and understanding, even in the face of disappointment. If you are not subscribed, I recommend subscribing and activating the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support means a lot to me, and if you enjoyed this video, you can help me continue spreading the valuable lessons by liking and sharing it. If you like the topic of this video, please comment 1. If you don't, please comment 0 to let me know how I can improve and make better videos for you. Now, let's begin. Number 1. The poison of unmet expectations. Have you ever felt that your child should be more grateful? That after countless sleepless nights, endless sacrifices, and the bottomless well of love you've poured into them, the least you deserve is acknowledgement, a kind word, a heartfelt thank you, or perhaps just respect. And yet, instead of the appreciation you yearn for, you're met with indifference, short replies, or worse, criticism. It cuts deep, doesn't it? The pain of feeling unappreciated isn't just about the rejection of your actions. It's about the dismissal of who you are. It shakes the very core of your identity as a parent. Unmet expectations are not just disappointments. They can feel like betrayals, especially when those expectations are rooted in love. This is where Stoic philosophy becomes an anchor in turbulent waters, reminding us of a truth that is hard to swallow but liberating once accepted. Our expectations are often the chains of our suffering. Picture this. In every selfless act, in every sacrifice, a tiny thread of expectation weaves itself into your heart. You imagine a future where your child repays your love with respect, gratitude, and care, perhaps even the promise of being there for you in your old age. It's not wrong to hope for these things. They are natural desires for connection and recognition. But when these hopes quietly transform into unspoken obligations, the seeds of resentment are sown. As Seneca aptly said, the greatest obstacle to living is expectation, which depends on tomorrow and wastes today. Each expectation creates a story of how things should be. You might hope your child calls you every Sunday, shares their life openly, or asks for your wisdom. But they don't. They live their own lives, shaped by their dreams, struggles, and priorities. And when their choices don't align with the script you've written in your heart, it feels like a rejection, a failure of everything you thought parenthood was supposed to mean. This pain, as piercing as it feels, comes not from their actions but from the expectations we've built around them. As Epictetus wisely observed, if you want to be invincible, don't fight against what depends on others. You cannot control how your child behaves, what they think, or how they express love. But you can control your response, and therein lies your freedom. Take Maria, for example. A devoted mother, she spent decades dreaming of the day her son would visit her on weekends, share his burdens, and turn to her for comfort. But life had other plans. Her son chose to focus on his career, built a life of his own, and distanced himself emotionally. Each missed phone call, each hurried conversation, felt like a knife twisting in Maria's heart. Resentment became her constant companion, and her joy slowly eroded. One day, Maria reached a breaking point. She realized the weight of her unhappiness wasn't her son's actions, but her unspoken belief that he owed her a certain kind of love. With this painful but profound realization, she began to let go. She stopped clinging to the image of how things should be and focused on what she could control: her peace, her happiness. Maria chose to live in the present, valuing the moments of connection, however small, rather than mourning what she wished for but couldn't have. This is the insidious nature of unmet expectations. They rob you of the beauty in what is because you're too focused on what isn't. They destroy your inner peace and leave you trapped in a cycle of longing and disappointment. But there is a way out. You can break free by releasing your grip on rigid ideas of how love, respect, or gratitude should appear. Does this mean you should stop wanting your child's love and respect? Not at all. It means freeing yourself from the idea that these things must come in the way you envision or on the timeline you expect. Love often reveals itself in unexpected ways: a gesture, a smile, a quiet moment of presence. But you can only see and appreciate these subtleties when you're not blinded by your expectations. When you release the need to control how your child expresses their love, you open yourself to serenity. True freedom, true peace, comes not from demanding that life meet your terms, but from embracing it as it is. In doing so, you may discover a love that doesn't need to be forced, a respect that doesn't need to be earned, and a connection that thrives not on obligation but on mutual understanding. Let go of the chains of expectation. Reclaim your peace. Because in the end, the greatest gift you can give yourself is the freedom to love without conditions, to accept without demands, and to find joy in what already is. Number 2. When love becomes emotional debt. As a mother, loving your child unconditionally feels as natural as breathing. From the moment they entered this world, tiny and fragile, every choice you made, every sleepless night you endured, and every sacrifice you embraced stemmed from the depths of your love. It's an instinct so powerful that it shapes your very existence. But as time goes on, that selfless love, that endless giving, can sometimes take on an unintended weight, a quiet, unspoken expectation that your child owes you something in return. This is how love, so pure in its origin, can begin to morph into an emotional debt, a weight that neither you nor your child may fully understand but that both of you can feel. When you pour so much of yourself into raising your children, your time, your energy, your dreams, it's only human to yearn for something in return. Acknowledgement, appreciation, even just a little time spent together. After all, you've given everything. Isn't it fair to receive a little gratitude or attention in return? Yet, love that expects repayment, no matter how subtle, begins to lose its purity. It shifts from being unconditional to something transactional. Even if the words remain unspoken, the energy of those expectations can linger, forming invisible chains that bind your child to an obligation they never agreed to fulfill. This expectation, even when wrapped in love, can push your child further away rather than bringing them closer. Children, whether they're 10 or 40, can sense the pressure to repay their parents' love, and it can make them feel trapped. Rosa's story is one of many that illustrate this heartbreaking dynamic. Rosa devoted her entire life to her children, sacrificing her desires and dreams. She believed that when they grew up, they would naturally step in to take care of her, visit her often, and make her feel cherished. But her eldest son, Pedro, followed his path. His career and his new family consumed his time, and Rosa, though she never voiced it outright, felt abandoned. She wondered how he could be so ungrateful after all she had done for him. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 1 below to let me know that you are still here with me. This bitterness festered within her, turning her love into a heavy, invisible debt that Pedro could never fully repay. The tragedy here is that Rosa's love, which began as something pure and beautiful, became a burden that created a distance between her and her son. This is a common and painful reality for many parents, but it doesn't have to be this way. The wisdom of the Stoics offers a gentle yet powerful solution. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, "Do good willingly and without expecting any reward." The essence of true love lies in its freedom. It's given without strings, without demands and conditions. When love becomes an exchange, it ceases to be love. It becomes a transaction. And as much as we may want to believe otherwise, love that feels like an obligation drains both the giver and the receiver. Epictetus, another Stoic philosopher, offers profound guidance. Focus on what you can control. You cannot dictate how your child will respond to your sacrifices. You cannot make them love you in the way you expect or want. What you can control is your perspective. You can choose to give your love freely, to let go of expectations, and to find peace in knowing that your sacrifices were acts of love, not investments waiting for returns. It's not an easy shift to make, especially when you've given so much of yourself. It's painful to feel unseen or unappreciated by the very people you've poured your heart into. But when you cling to those expectations, you only hurt yourself. By recognizing that every sacrifice was a choice you made out of love, you can begin to release the resentment and sadness that come from unmet expectations. This doesn't mean you have to accept neglect or mistreatment. It means that your sense of self-worth and inner peace should come from within, not from the validation or reciprocation of others. Seneca beautifully encapsulated this idea when he said, "The wise man is satisfied to do good without needing recognition." When you release the need for repayment, you open the door to a relationship that isn't weighed down by guilt or obligation. Imagine the freedom this could bring, not just for you but for your child. Without the shadow of emotional debt, your child can connect with you not out of duty but out of genuine love. Instead of a relationship filled with silent expectations, there's room for authenticity, joy, and a love that flows naturally. When love becomes emotional debt, both sides suffer. The giver feels unappreciated, and the receiver feels trapped. But when love is given freely, with no strings attached, it has the power to heal, to grow, and to liberate. True love isn't about what you get in return. It's about the peace that comes from knowing you gave your all, simply because you chose to love. Number 3. The root of disrespect lies in the lack of boundaries. It's a heartbreaking truth that hits many mothers with the force of a tidal wave. The absence of respect or even love in the relationship with your child can often stem from something as deceptively simple as a lack of boundaries. As mothers, we pour every ounce of our hearts into raising our children. We protect, nurture, and give until there's seemingly nothing left because our love feels limitless. But in our eagerness to give unconditionally, we sometimes forget that boundaries are not barriers to love, they're the foundation for respect. From the moment we first cradle our child in our arms, we feel a profound sense of responsibility. Their tiny, vulnerable form depends on us entirely, and we rise to the challenge without hesitation. Over the years, this fierce devotion doesn't waver, even when it means sacrificing our well-being. But here's the painful paradox. Without setting limits, this selflessness can morph into a pattern where your child comes to expect, even demand, your endless availability. And while they may not realize it, that unchecked expectation erodes the respect they hold for you. One poignant story is that of Carmen, a mother who gave endlessly to her son. She never said no, whether it was money, time, or emotional energy. If he needed her at the crack of dawn, she was there. If he came unannounced, she welcomed him warmly, even if she was exhausted. Carmen believed she was building an unshakable bond of love. But over the years, her son stopped seeing her sacrifices as acts of kindness. Instead, he saw them as obligations, as if they were his birthright. The day Carmen finally mustered the courage to say no was devastating. Her son reacted with anger and hurt, as though she had betrayed him. Why? Because Carmen had never drawn the lines that define healthy relationships. She had taught her son to take her for granted by never showing him the boundaries of what she could give. This story resonates because it reflects the silent pain many mothers endure. We believe we're showing love by giving endlessly, but in doing so, we unintentionally strip ourselves of dignity and teach our children that it's acceptable to take without gratitude. Marcus Aurelius wisely said, "Love everyone, but trust only the few who deserve it." As mothers, loving our children is instinctual, but that love must also be paired with self-respect. Love doesn't mean becoming a perpetual martyr to their needs. Boundaries are not walls to shut out our children. They are bridges that create mutual respect. When you set a boundary, you're sending a powerful message. I love you deeply, but I also value myself. This is not selfishness, it's self-preservation. It's an act of teaching your child that relationships, even between a parent and child, thrive on balance. Think of it this way. A river without banks spills out and becomes a flood, destroying everything in its path. But a river with clear, firm banks flows with strength and purpose. Boundaries are the banks that allow your love to flow freely without being diminished or taken for granted. Setting boundaries may feel uncomfortable at first. You may fear your child's reaction or worry they'll see you as less loving. But consider this. Isn't teaching them to respect you a far greater gift than allowing them to take you for granted? Boundaries are not acts of rejection. They're acts of care. Care for yourself and the relationship. Epictetus reminds us, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. As mothers, we can't control what our children ask of us, but we can control how we respond. Saying no is not a denial of love. It's an affirmation of your worth. Without boundaries, love often turns into quiet resentment, a painful undercurrent that robs both you and your child of the joy a healthy relationship can bring. By setting limits, you show your child that your love is strong but not infinite, that it deserves respect, appreciation, and reciprocity. So, take a deep breath and embrace the strength it takes to set boundaries. Remind yourself that you are worthy of love that respects your space and your needs. Teach your child that love is not just about giving. It's about mutual care, understanding, and respect. And remember, as Marcus Aurelius said, freedom is the power to live as you wish. By setting boundaries, you grant yourself and your child the freedom to cultivate a relationship rooted in dignity, balance, and genuine love. Number 4. Stop seeking recognition from those who can't give it. One of the most profound heartaches a mother can experience stems from waiting for a kind of recognition or gratitude that remains elusive. Imagine pouring your heart and soul into someone. Your love, your sacrifices, your time, even parts of your very identity, hoping that one day your child will look back and say, "I see it. I see all that you did for me. Thank you." But what happens when that moment never arrives? When the gratitude remains buried, or worse, feel like it doesn't exist at all. This pain cuts deeply, often leaving mothers questioning their worth or wondering what they did wrong. Yet, this is where a profound truth, echoed by the Stoics, invites us to reflect. Not everyone can give the kind of recognition you seek, and this absence isn't always tied to love. It often reflects their limitations, their perspective, their emotional bandwidth, or their expectations of you. Epictetus reminds us that while we cannot control how others see or value us, we can control how we respond. This wisdom becomes crucial when facing the ache of feeling unappreciated. Children, as much as they are a source of joy, often fail to understand the sacrifices their parents make. Their worlds are consumed by their struggles, their responsibilities, and the way they view you through the lens of familiarity. To them, your acts of love may seem as natural as the air they breathe, unnoticed but always expected. Take the story of Teresa, a devoted mother who gave everything to her daughter, Sarah. She paid for Sarah's education, dropped everything to babysit her grandchildren, and showed up time and again whenever Sarah called. But in moments of quiet reflection, Teresa often felt invisible. Her sacrifices blended into the backdrop of life, unnoticed and unacknowledged. The thank you she craved felt like a distant dream, leaving her questioning whether Sarah even saw the depth of her devotion. Teresa's pain didn't arise from resentment toward Sarah but from the emptiness of waiting for recognition that never came. It's a lonely kind of hurt, one that creates a quiet rift. The unspoken expectation of gratitude becomes a wall, blocking the flow of genuine connection and filling the space with frustration and disappointment. When we hinge our happiness on receiving validation from someone unable to provide it, we imprison ourselves in a cycle of hurt. But what can be done when the longing for acknowledgement persists? The answer lies in a shift of perspective. Stoic wisdom teaches that true fulfillment must come from within. You cannot control whether your child sees or values your sacrifices, but you can control how you honor yourself. Instead of waiting for an external thank you, learn to validate yourself. Reflect on the love you've poured out and take pride in knowing you acted with integrity and heart. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." It's a powerful reminder that chasing validation from others, especially those unable to give it, only deepens the pain. Instead, when you let go of the need for recognition, you release yourself from that emotional weight. You allow yourself to find peace in the knowledge that you gave your best, regardless of whether it was noticed. This act of letting go doesn't mean you love your child any less or that you resign yourself to a distant relationship. It means choosing to free yourself from the shackles of unmet expectations. Ironically, when you stop waiting for gratitude, you often create space for it to emerge naturally. The pressure lifts, and the relationship has room to breathe, to heal. Seneca captured this beautifully. A wise person is content with doing what is right without expecting a reward. By ceasing to seek recognition, you reclaim your emotional power. You're no longer at the mercy of someone else's ability or inability to see your worth. Instead, you define it for yourself with compassion and respect. To every mother who has felt unseen, know that your worth is not measured by someone else's words. Your sacrifices, your love, your tireless efforts, they are not invisible, even if they go unspoken. And when you stop waiting for acknowledgement, you open the door to peace within yourself. You may even discover a deeper strength in your love, one that's free from the burden of expectation. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 2 below to let me know that you are still here with me. In the end, stopping the search for recognition doesn't mean giving up. It means finding freedom. It means shifting your focus to what truly matters: your well-being, your ability to love unconditionally, and the peace that comes with knowing you've done enough. And should gratitude finally arrive one day, it will be a gift, not a necessity. If it doesn't, rest assured, your worth was never tied to it in the first place. You are, and always have been, enough. Number 5. Emotional independence is your greatest strength. In life, especially within the intricate web of family relationships, one of the most profound and empowering foundations for true fulfillment is the development of emotional independence. It is a concept that many, especially mothers, struggle to grasp, yet it holds the key to their peace and joy. Too often, mothers unknowingly place the delicate balance of their emotional well-being in the hands of their children. They seek validation, happiness, and solace from the very people they have nurtured and cared for. While this is done with the purest intentions, it can easily spiral into a source of deep emotional suffering. The truth, no matter how difficult it may be to accept, is this: when your happiness hinges on how your child treats you, you are setting yourself up for a never-ending cycle of emotional vulnerability and pain. This is where Stoic wisdom shines as a beacon of hope, guiding us to reclaim our inner strength and resilience. Stoic philosophy teaches a life-altering truth. True freedom does not reside in the things we possess or in the way others behave towards us. It resides solely in our ability to control how we respond to the events that unfold around us. It is in our reactions, our mindset, and our emotional mastery that our power lies. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, profoundly said, "No one is free who is not master of themselves." This principle, though simple, carries a heavy weight of meaning, especially in the context of the mother-child relationship. So often, without even realizing it, we hand over our inner peace to our children's actions, allowing their words or silence, their calls or absence, to dictate how we feel. If our child forgets to call, we may feel abandoned. If they fail to acknowledge our efforts, we feel unappreciated. With every small gesture, or lack thereof, from them, our emotional equilibrium is disturbed, and we lose our center. The temptation is so strong to believe that our happiness is tied to the behavior of those we love most. After all, we have invested so much of ourselves into them. Shouldn't they, in turn, provide us with a sense of peace and fulfillment? But herein lies the problem. The moment we attach our emotional well-being to something beyond our control, we invite unnecessary suffering into our lives. As Stoicism teaches, we must free ourselves from the chains of dependency on things that we cannot change. Emotional independence doesn't mean you stop loving or becoming indifferent to others. It means you no longer allow your peace to be dictated by how others treat you. It's about finding your sense of calm and contentment not in their actions, but in the way you choose to interpret and respond to those actions. Marcus Aurelius, another pillar of Stoic thought, offers us a powerful reminder with the words, "Choose not to be harmed, and you won't be." This, too, is not an encouragement to close off emotionally, but rather a call to cultivate inner strength and self-mastery. You cannot control whether your child respects you, expresses gratitude, or loves you in the way you hope. But you can control how deeply you allow that to affect you. True emotional independence begins when you realize, with clarity and conviction, that your worth is not determined by the opinions or actions of others. It is determined by your ability to remain centered and peaceful, regardless of what happens around you. This strength, this profound freedom, arises from within, and it is within your reach at any given moment. When you stop handing over your emotional state to your child's behavior, you release yourself from a heavy burden that you may not even have realized you were carrying. And with this release comes a freedom to breathe, to experience life with more joy and less anxiety. A practical and incredibly transformative way to foster this emotional independence is by learning to live in the present moment. Seneca, a Stoic philosopher known for his wisdom, once stated, "The greatest obstacle to living is expectation, which depends on tomorrow and wastes today." How often do we live in a future that hasn't yet arrived, waiting for our child to reach out, to validate us, to show love? In doing so, we neglect the precious moments that we have right now. The path to inner peace is not found in waiting for external validation, but in fully embracing and appreciating the present moment, as it is. So, how can we begin to apply these teachings in our everyday lives? The first step is simply becoming aware of when you are placing your emotional well-being in the hands of your child. Are you waiting for their call to feel connected? Do you feel rejected if they don't respond as you hope? Each time you catch yourself in this pattern, remind yourself that their behavior is beyond your control, but your response is entirely within your grasp. Take a moment to pause and ask yourself, am I allowing this situation to disturb my peace more than it should? Another key to emotional independence is nurturing your relationship with yourself. Spend time doing things that feed your soul and make you feel whole, without depending on others to fill that space. Whether it's reading a book, taking a walk in nature, practicing mindfulness, or engaging in a hobby you love, these activities help to remind you that your happiness is an inside job. The more you focus on your well-being, the less power external circumstances or people have over your emotions. Finally, always remember that emotional independence does not mean isolation. It does not mean shutting yourself off from the people you love or becoming indifferent to their needs. It simply means that your happiness, your sense of peace, and your emotional balance come from within. You can love your child deeply, but no longer from a place where their actions determine your emotional state. As Marcus Aurelius wisely said, "The soul is dyed with the color of its thoughts." Your thoughts, your perceptions, and your interpretations shape how you feel. If you choose to stop relying on external factors to color your emotions, you will paint your soul with tranquility, strength, and resilience. Emotional independence is not just a survival mechanism. It's a way of living that enables you to cultivate a life of inner peace, freedom, and profound joy. By releasing yourself from the chains of emotional dependency, you empower yourself to live more fully, to react less impulsively, and to experience the world with greater depth. This, in my humble opinion, is one of the greatest strengths any person, especially a mother, can develop in their journey through life. Number 6. The art of accepting what you cannot change. Few challenges in life are as profound and deeply personal as the journey of a mother learning to let go of what she cannot control. It is an act of love, of surrender, and of courage that cuts to the very core of what it means to be a parent. As a mother, your every instinct pulls you toward guiding, protecting, and ensuring your child's happiness. You've poured your heart into them, your time, energy, and soul. And yet, there comes a moment when you must face a difficult truth. No matter how much you've given or how deeply you've cared, their life is their own. This realization can be painful, even heartbreaking, because it feels like a rejection of everything you've worked so hard to build. You may wrestle with questions. Where did I go wrong? Why can't I make things better? Why won't they listen to me? But here is where the timeless wisdom of Stoicism offers a gentle yet firm hand. It reminds us that serenity is found not in the impossible act of controlling others, but in the powerful choice to accept what is beyond our reach. Epictetus wisely said, "There are things which are within our power, and there are things which are beyond our power." This simple but profound statement can be a lifeline for any mother struggling with the tension between love and control. Your child's choices, their thoughts, their feelings, and their actions are all beyond your power. You can guide them, teach them, and love them with everything you have, but in the end, their path is theirs to walk. This truth, though hard to embrace, carries within it a kind of bittersweet liberation. Acceptance doesn't mean you stop caring or give up hope. Instead, it means finding the courage to release the need to control what is uncontrollable. Imagine for a moment that your love for your child is like a small boat on the vast and unpredictable ocean of life. The winds and waves, representing their decisions, challenges, and triumphs, are beyond your influence. You cannot tame the storm or redirect the tides, but you can adjust your sails. You can choose how you respond, how you navigate, and how you hold steady in the face of uncertainty. This act of letting go isn't easy. It's a practice, a discipline of the heart. The Stoic exercise of premeditatio malorum can help prepare you for this journey. By reflecting on potential difficulties in advance, you train yourself to face them with grace rather than resistance. Consider this. What if you began each day by acknowledging that your child may make choices you don't agree with, or that they may not show gratitude or respect in the way you hope? This isn't pessimism, it's emotional armor. It's a way of shifting your focus from what they do to how you choose to respond. I know this might sound like resignation, but it's anything but. Acceptance isn't about giving up, it's about growing up emotionally. It's about recognizing that while you cannot control your child's actions, you can absolutely control your perspective. You can choose to let go of guilt, of the endless what-ifs that replay in your mind. You can choose to stop measuring your success as a mother by their choices and start finding peace in the knowledge that you've done your best. One of the hardest parts of acceptance is letting go of the expectation that your child should act in a certain way for you to feel validated as a parent. Perhaps they don't express gratitude the way you imagined, or maybe their life doesn't align with the dreams you once had for them. It's tempting to take these things personally, but they're not about you. They're about them, their struggles, their growth, their journey. By releasing these expectations, you give both yourself and your child the freedom to build a relationship based on love rather than obligation. Marcus Aurelius said, "Love only what happens, for it is what was written for you." In this case, what has been written for you is a lesson in letting go. A lesson in loving not the child you imagined, but the child who stands before you, flaws and all. Acceptance doesn't mean you agree with every choice they make. It means you refuse to let those choices rob you of your peace. Yes, it's hard. It might bring tears and moments of doubt, but it's also deeply empowering. When you stop trying to control the uncontrollable, you reclaim your energy for things that truly matter. Your inner peace, your joy, your capacity to love without conditions. By accepting your child as they are, you also accept yourself as you are, a mother who has loved fiercely, who has done her best, and who is now learning to let life unfold as it will. Acceptance is not the end of love, it is the highest expression of it. It is a gift to yourself and to your child, a space where both of you can grow, free from the weight of unrealistic expectations. And who knows? By loosening your grip, you may find that your relationship deepens in ways you never thought possible. In the end, the art of accepting what you cannot change is a journey toward freedom. It's a practice of wisdom, patience, and profound love, love that endures, even in the face of life's uncertainties. And perhaps, it's in this acceptance that you discover the truest form of serenity. Number 7. Choose serenity over resentment. Among life's most profound lessons, especially in navigating difficult relationships like those between a mother and her child, is the transformative power of choosing serenity over resentment. This choice is not easy. It asks us to confront the rawest corners of our hearts, where feelings of neglect, misunderstanding, or unappreciation often reside. Yet, the peace that follows this conscious decision is worth every effort, as it offers a liberation that resentment can never provide. Resentment, that heavy cloak we carry, often feels justified. When your child's actions, or lack thereof, sting, it's only natural to feel hurt. You may wonder, how could they treat me this way after all I've given? But as tempting as it is to hold on to that bitterness, we must remember that resentment does not harm the one who has failed us. Instead, it becomes a prison, locking away our joy, our peace, and our ability to fully live. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 3 below to let me know that you are still here with me. The Stoics, in their timeless wisdom, remind us of an empowering truth. Choose not to be harmed, and you won't be. These words by Marcus Aurelius may sound almost dismissive at first, but they reveal a profound insight. What truly hurts us is not the actions of others, but the power we give to those actions. By letting their indifference define our worth or allowing their words to shake our sense of self, we surrender control over our inner peace. And why should we give that power away? Our peace is our treasure, precious, rare, and ours to protect. It's important to acknowledge that resentment doesn't appear overnight. It builds slowly, brick by painful brick, as small disappointments pile up over the years. Every unmet expectation, every unspoken word of gratitude, every unanswered phone call adds to the weight until it feels unbearable. But the heartbreaking truth is this: the resentment we carry doesn't punish our children for their shortcomings. It punishes us, robbing us of the serenity we so desperately deserve. Letting go of resentment is not about excusing the behavior of others. It's about reclaiming your power. It's about saying, I will no longer allow your actions, or lack of them, to dictate my happiness. Epictetus, another Stoic philosopher, put it perfectly. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Imagine the freedom of looking at your child's indifference and thinking, I see your choices, but I choose peace. This journey begins with self-compassion, a tender recognition of your value. You are not defined by how others treat you, but by the grace with which you treat yourself. Picture this. What if you decided right now to let go of the anger, the hurt, and the longing for things to be different? What if you chose instead to pour that energy into nurturing your well-being, into finding joy in the quiet beauty of a morning walk, the comfort of a favorite book, or the laughter of a trusted friend? Serenity is not surrender. It's a reclamation of your right to live unburdened by the weight of unmet expectations. A powerful exercise in Stoic practice is negative visualization, imagining the worst-case scenario, not to dwell on it but to prepare for it. Think of the possibility that your child may never change, that their affection or respect may never align with what you hope for. It's not an easy thought, but by confronting it, you free yourself from the shackles of expectation. As Seneca wisely said, misfortune is not what happens to us, but how we bear it. Accepting this truth is not giving up, it's rising above. Yes, it's painful to feel overlooked by those you love, but there is so much more to life than this pain. Even if your child's appreciation feels absent, you still have your health, your passions, and your strength. Serenity comes not from waiting for others to fulfill you, but from recognizing the abundance already within your grasp. It's about choosing gratitude over grievance, love over longing. This doesn't mean you ignore the challenges in the relationship. It means you shift your focus. Instead of dwelling on what your child lacks, concentrate on what you can control: your attitude, your reactions, your peace. By doing so, you create space for a new kind of relationship, one built on acceptance rather than expectation. And in that space, who knows? You might find that your release of resentment inspires your child to approach you with less fear, less pressure, and more openness. At its core, love is not about demanding or expecting. It's about giving freely, without conditions or the need for recognition. When you let go of resentment, you don't just set yourself free. You also release your child from the weight of your expectations. This doesn't guarantee they will change, but it does guarantee that you will find peace. As we grow older, these lessons become even more poignant. Life is too short, and too precious to spend entangled in pain that serves no purpose. Choose serenity. Release resentment. Not because the world is perfect, but because you deserve a life that feels whole, a heart that feels light, and a mind at peace. As we come to the end of this video, let's take a moment to reflect on the wisdom we've shared today. What resonated with you the most? Was it the idea of letting go of resentment, choosing serenity, or the realization that your inner peace is entirely within your control? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Share in the comments below one lesson or practice from this video that you'll take with you into your life. How will you apply it to nurture more peace, gratitude, and fulfillment? If you found value in this video, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us continue creating meaningful content to inspire and guide you through life's journey. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video. Glowing star.